inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. Take my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee? I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. Some days I feel skinnier than all the other days. Sometimes I can't tell if my body belongs to me. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. Content, hold your breath and feel the tension. Devils hide behind redemption. Honesty is a one-way gate to hell. I wanna taste consumption. Breathe faster to waste oxygen. Hear the children sing aloud. It's music till the wick burns out. Be carefree lately, yeah. Just kicking up daisies. Got one too many quarters in my pockets. Counting like the four-leaf clovers in my locket. Untied laces, yeah. Just tripping on daydreams. Got dirty little lullabies playing on repeat. Might as well just ride around the nursery. That it's our time. Our cries, the haunting soundtrack of our kind. Red eyes, don't you worry, it's alright. New highs, we haven't reached, just being wild. We own the night, it's where we come alive.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Happy Thursday. I guess we're going into Saturday, March 29th. The Friday slate's wrapping up right now. Trying to get some screens loaded. Here we go. Yep, Friday slate's wrapping up right now. Looks like it's going to be a profitable night for me. Pretty good read on pitching, I think, yesterday. Historically, those smaller slates have been my wheelhouse. So 6 to 8 gamers, man, I love them. And yesterday, I thought was pretty straightforward for me as far as my pitching tiers. Sometimes pitching gets messy, especially get to day 3, day 4, day 5 of the rotation. But yesterday, it just seemed like the obvious plays were obvious plays. Couple of chalk bust, a couple of chalk hit. O'Neal Cruz was big on the plus side. Ohtani was meh. Rafael Devers, 8 at-bats this season, 7 strikeouts. Been a rough start for him, so I enjoyed the slate. Jonah Heim, random double dog. Eugenio Suarez, got a pair of them, almost at 3. The Blue Jays kind of got their get back as far as high scoring, high octane offense up against the Orioles. No super surprises to me results wise. Good slate. And now we move forward. Mentioned yesterday it was going to be a slate for teams that play in domes or not often affected by weather. And now we're heading into a Saturday where every team in all of baseball does play. There are 2 slates, it looks like, split up on both sites on their afternoon, early slate, whatever you want to call it. There's a 9-game option over there on DraftKings. And then when you get into the night, there's 6 games. I think it's the same on Fanduel. You get 2 chances to have 2 full slates essentially on both sites and plenty of money to go out there and get. So we're going to do some research tonight. If you're watching this on YouTube, it is the night before, so I'm not dealing with live lineups. I don't have a ton of run totals, but I have inserted all of the projected starting pitching and starting lineups into the MLBgrind.com premium spreadsheet. So if you guys listen, you watch, you like what you hear, and you want to add this spreadsheet to your repertoire of tools to expedite your daily research, you can get it by going to MLBgrind.com. Click premium membership. There's a week pass, month pass, and a full season pass. And what that will do is once you sign up, you can go to members portal. You will get a link to the spreadsheet and to the premium Discord. And I think we've been kind of building out a pretty cool little community. A lot of people were asking questions yesterday, and I was doing my best to answer as anything that was offered at me. So if you guys join, you like what you hear, you guys join. I said it yesterday in the first couple streams. As far as what I guarantee, like as far as like, I don't know, don't sign up if you're looking for like, I don't know, lineups and specific picks, stuff like that. The intent behind the website is to be a resource to research every slate, every game with an advanced metric point of view. And I've done my best to extrapolate, crunch, present all of the really important data, whether it be predictive metrics or results, and put it in a pretty easy to consume spreadsheet. And I think this is a huge boost to a lot of people that are newer to baseball, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Green is good, red is bad for both the hitter and the pitcher. And as we build it out, I've been doing hand-built pitcher fantasy projections. We still have the pitch report. We got the bomb detector that crunches all the important stats for power, prediction, home run calls, what you might call it. And I've also been kind of putting my core plays, right? My rankings, my player pool stack, stuff like that. And as people join, I'm asking everybody, hey, let me know what it is that you are looking for information for. If you are signing up because you are a DFS player and you want to build out your daily fantasy lineups, let me know, and I'll keep kind of grinding towards serving that niche. If you're into prop betting, and somebody was asking yesterday about money lines and stuff like that, whatever it is you try to do, let me know, and I'll keep all this in mind, because this is a fluid and continuously building project, and I'm super appreciative, grateful, thankful for everyone that has signed up so far. I think we're almost at 10 subscribers. So for this is show number 3. A lot of people don't even know I'm back. So shout out to all you guys that were jumping right on board right away, and it means a lot. What up, Justin Sports? What up, Emerson? Hope you've been all right, dude. Let's jump into it. I'm going to get a little focused on the early slate for tomorrow and kick things off in the Bronx. I'll go all day here. Yankees hosting the Brewers. Nasty Nestor Cortez, blonde hair and all on the bump up against Max Fried, newly signed Yankee product of the Atlanta Braves. Excited to see if he can be an impact player quick, fast, and in a hurry in the absence of Garrett Cole. We saw Carlos Rodon actually spin the ball pretty well in the opening game. The only real sweat that the opening game ended up having, ironically, was in the ninth inning with the former Brewer Devin Williams coming in for a save. Ended up throwing something like 30 pitches, tons of full counts, and giving up a couple hits, couple walks. So between Carlos Rodon having a solid game and the day off, kind of expect everyone to be available from the Yankees bullpen. It'd be interesting to see if Devin Williams is available, but it is going to be a situation where I'll continue to trust the Yankees bullpen to kind of keep things where it's at. Implied run total for the Brewers, 3.9. The Yankees, 4.8 implied run total, minus 155. Immediately brings Max Fried into consideration for me. He had 4 games in the spring, 16 innings pitched, just 12 strikeouts, 78 pitches on the 23rd. So it's pretty well stretched out. I'm not really holding my breath for these starters to get more than 5 innings unless they're really, really grooving, especially with coming off a day of rest. So at 9,500 on Fanduel, I'm a little bit worried about that. But the fact that he has not been a extreme strikeout pitcher, last year 23.2% K rate in 174 innings and a high ground ball rate, that may not be a bad thing for Fanduel, because if you're not getting strikeouts, hopefully you're not wasting pitches, and he really doesn't. He does have a little bit of an elevated walk rate to lefties, but he's not going to see likely more than 3 lefties, which means he should be able to keep his pitch count somewhat low. So a win is heavily implied, and if he pitches a little bit more to contact, he could sneak through 6 innings and be a strong candidate for a quality start if he's on. So that is kind of a, when you pick pitchers for fantasy, you're really hunting strikeouts, but you might be able to steal some value with a quality start out of them if things are going well. So for that, I'm a little bit interested, and we're going to put him into early interest ranking. Yesterday we started doing this interest ranking on the side. If you guys didn't catch the live stream, it's my way of kind of notating the levels of interest in the 4 corners of this game, the 2 pitchers and the 2 offenses, because sometimes it does feel like it's a little fluffy where you can see everything, you can see nothing. So I decided to kind of commit to notating written interest. So Fried is on the board, but I think first and foremost, we got to be interested in the Yankees offense. A 4.8 run total. You get Yankees in the Bronx, in the Yankee Stadium, against a former Yankee, Nestor Cortez. 3 spring games, 11 innings pitched, 14 hits allowed, 14 strikeouts, 4 walks. He had a 1.64 whip with his high fly ball rate. We know if any team in the league has a scouting report on Nestor Cortez, it's going to be the Yankees. And although he was pretty beloved, he did show a tendency to implode, and he had an extremely high home run probability to opposing righties, an aggregate 1.5 home run per 9 to right-handed hitters in the last 2 years. Heavy fly ball rate, aggregate 56%, and a 32% hard contact rate. So the ability to hit him hard is there, and that's going to put everyone into consideration in the Yankees lineup for me. And then the thing I'm looking for is, how did the Yankees lead off the lineup in this game? Austin Wells was their leadoff guy on opening day. I don't know that they're going to lead off Wells against a lefty, so I'm kind of looking at either Goldie, but I also feel like there's a chance that Anthony Volpe could lead off. Some sites right now are projecting Goldschmidt as the leadoff guy, and I know we instantly think about, you want the speedy guy to lead off. Well, Aaron Boone has said in interviews he wants his on-base guys to be higher in the order in front of his big boppers like Judge and Belly. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it makes more sense, at least in his strategy, for Volpe. He likes putting those scrappy speedsters together, and I think we saw an interesting bottom of the order with Volpe and Chisholm and guys like that. So I'm curious to see who he does officially lead off. Right now, sites are looking at Goldie to do it. I think Volpe kind of earned a shot at leading off after the wall scraper last week, but on opening day. But either way, it'll be fine. So no one is out of consideration for me in this Yankees lineup stack. And then on the Brewers side, let's go Yankees offense 1. The Brewers against Fried. I don't think I'm getting there on this early slate. We're looking at 9 games on the DraftKings early. Max Fried, even though he's not a strikeout guy, is a heavy ground ball guy, and I just don't know that there's a ton of interest in me seeing that the Brewers could be an explosive stat. Like, how often do the Brewers realistically drop a large crooked number to pay off as a full stack? So if we're getting to some Brewers, for me it's likely maybe a guy like Yelich. It's a little bit against their grain to go grab a lefty versus a lefty, but Fried has actually last season allowed a higher average and a couple bombs to lefties. The overall advanced metrics weren't necessarily screaming problems, but it's not impossible for a lefty to get him. But also a guy like Yelich has been pretty aggressive on the bases. Wilson Contreras, perennial lefty bopper, but for the most part, I think I'm leaning just the Yankees offense, just some Max Fried, no Nestor Cortez for me. It would be a funny Cinderella story if he did go out there and get one. Vinny Capra, he led spring training, or tied for the league lead with like 6 others with the most homers in spring. Then he went and got one on opening day. He's still pretty cheap on both sites if you're believing in that Cinderella power. Again, Max Fried, heavy ground ball guy, so I'm just kind of like not there for that. But maybe something to keep an eye on. Maybe he has a average to below average bad game here, and his price stays low, and we can take advantage of that power going forward. Jackson Chourio struck out 5 times on opening day after like a 500-600 average in spring training. I'm trying to sell myself on a few of these guys. I just can't get excited to pick on Max Fried here. It's kind of like a Framber Valdez situation. So give me the Yankees, give me some Fried. We'll go on for that. What up, Jimmy? Austin Barnes reeks. Need this every night. What up, Josh? Yeah, we're trying to find a place to settle in for these streams. I do think long term, once we do hit our groove, the night before is probably going to be my new time slot. But like a situation like yesterday, I did an afternoon stream because it was mostly a late slate. But I think long term, at least for the next couple months, when we get our sea legs and everything makes sense, having a set scheduled time for these streams would be more beneficial for everybody. You guys will know to look for the stream instead of just happen to open up your YouTube app and seeing it. And then also it'll help me create a little bit of a habit. So 5.5 is crazy for Chourio. Yeah, I mean, he was really, really solid in spring, and he's a good player. This is such a negative matchup overall that I just don't think I'm going there. Jose Soriano taking on Jonathan Cannon when the Angels meet the White Sox. 6 games in the spring for Soriano. 18 innings pitched, 20 Ks, 9 walks, 85 pitches on 323. And for Cannon, 9.1 innings pitched in spring, 6 strikeouts, 18 hits through 64 pitches on the 17th. Gave up 4 homers in the spring training. 3 of them, however, were in 1 game. So couple of unestablished guys and guys that don't excite me. canon, we do have a large sample size from last season. We kind of know what to expect. 17% K rate last season, 1.3 whip, 4.37 expected ERA, elevated home run rate, particularly to lefties with a low walk rate, high line drive rate. It's a really, really good spot to seek out some lefty power. Unfortunately, the Angels don't particularly project lefty powerful. So, I don't know really what to do with that. We did, as a community, looking at the ownerships in the field on opening day, we did get excited to play the Angels, which on paper aren't that fantastic. Outside of Michael Nelson and maybe some Jorge Soler, and they just kind of didn't do much with the field having high expectations. Today, the run total for them is 4.8, which was pretty high on opening day as well. That's going to mirror that of the Yankees. So, reason to be interested. You're gonna have to pay for them on DraftKings. We're looking at 4,500 and up for many of the top six. So I might find myself in a situation where if they become too highly owned on a 9-gamer, I'd probably be pivoting away and just kind of hoping for failure or average return on investment. But I certainly couldn't fault anyone for being interested in a couple of these guys, especially Mike Trout. Again, 5,600 for Trout. Kind of talked about how value's not really a thing in baseball, but there is like reverse value. If you pay 5,600 for Michael Nelson Trout, and he's 20% owned and he homers, like you had to have at least a homer, I guess, for that to kind of make sense. As far as point-wise go, if he falls short of that, or even if he does just homer, you can get something similar at a cheaper price point, then I kind of am okay with doing that in baseball. So kind of something to think about, but I don't want to lean or sway one way or the other too aggressively the night before, because I'm not quite sure how the ownership is going to shake out. I got to assume that there's going to be a decent enough steam on them, but also 9-game slate probably doesn't generate like 20 to 40%, or excuse me, 20 to 25% ownership like we have been seeing in some spots, especially yesterday. So be curious to see how that shakes out. I'm going to do a little bit of looking up on Jose Soriano. Like I said, his spring stats were a little bit scary to me when it came to walks, 8 walks in 18 innings. But the strikeouts, over a strikeout per inning is kind of interesting. And this is a White Sox team that I got really excited to play Yusei Kikuchi against on opening day. And I'm looking at this projected lineup and more of the same. Benintendi, the only White Sox hitter with less than a 22% K rate against righties since the beginning of last year. And there's a lot of guys getting to the 30+%. So the strikeout potential could be there if we can sell ourselves on a little Soriano love. Last season, actually, we might have stats for Soriano. Let me go look real quick. I've been having an issue with some of the Latin players that have the unique lettering on their names. The Spanish characters. Soriano. Actually, let's go all. It'd be much quicker. It'd be a lot cooler if we did. I'll tell you that. Here we go. 113 innings pitched for Soriano last year. 10.1% swinging strike rate. 20.7% overall K rate. Struck out righties a little bit more than lefties. The year prior, we saw a much higher swinging strike rate and a much higher overall strikeout rate to both sides of the plate. So, as somebody who didn't follow the Angels too much last year, I kind of want to do some digging. I guess first and foremost, we'll look at pitch mix. So it looks like the year prior he threw more fastballs at pushing 100. Looks like he threw a sinker more last year. And a sinker is not necessarily intended for contact, but you're okay with getting contact And a lot of times you are pitching in contact, and then a knuckle curve. So looks like by design, a lot of these high velocity guys are going to be needing to add some contact pitchers or contact pitches to their mix, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. But he has a lot of pitches to select from. So if you're going to give me some velo here and a solid pitch mix, I think I'm interested in taking some shares of Soriano and large field GPPs because, man, this White Sox lineup is just rough. So how do we rank this? Oh, man, I'm going to put the Angels. I don't want to be on the Angels just because, man, this lineup looks so rough on paper. But let's put Jose Soriano. Let's put Angels. Jonathan Cannon, I'm not there on him. 17% carry, like we said last year. He's implied to get beat up. I just can't see a scenario where Cannon is the nuts on a slate like this. So not in the pool, not even if there's a fire. Would we pick on Soriano for any particular reason? Well, that sinker is seeing a high ground ball rate. And this team is just rough. Benintendi homered on opening day, but generally not a superpower guy. And against lefties, we've seen almost 60% ground ball rate from Soriano. So now, no White Sox for me. Angels and Soriano, the only two things from this game I want to grab some pieces from. And we will matriculate on to the next one. Twins at the Cardinals. Joe Ryan taking on Eric Fetty. The Twins have an implied run total of 4 runs. The Cardinals, 3.7. Joe Ryan, 13 innings pitched, 17 strikeouts, a 108 whip, and a 191 average allowed in spring. That's pretty good. That's what you want. On the other side, Eric Fetty, 6 spring games, 16.1 innings pitched, 9 strikeouts, 3 homers in the same game. He went up to 76 and 83 pitches in his last 2 starts. So he's stretched out. Eric Fetty has been largely unremarkable as far as upside pitching for fantasy. He did go overseas, add a changeup to the mix, which has kind of kept him in the league. And we've seen the Cardinals kind of take chances on these these I guess midseason flyers. I think they picked them up. The elder statesmen of the leagues. They just need an inning eater in a pitcher-friendly ballpark. So I think real life, I could see him serving a purpose. For DFS, I'm probably not interested in rostering Eric Fetty here. Strikeout rate's really not something that I'm chasing. And on these big slates, we gotta have these aces that are gonna rack up those strikeouts. And I mean, I don't know. There's some teams I just don't want to tempt being a contact pitcher against, and depending on the lineup that the Twins throw out, Matt Wallner, Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton, Jose Miranda, Trevor Larnach, we got some elevated OPS rates and some 180 pluses ISO rates for a lot of this lineup. So there is a lot of fear in me as far as Fetty's success. Inversely, I do think this ballpark is pretty rough to generate power overall. It's a 10% below average in homers for the league. And then looking at the guys who would want to play the most, I guess Buxton and Wallner. Lefties are a little closer to league average in hitting bombs here, so maybe Wallner can jump on an early pitch and tap into that 131 homer per 9, 36% hard contact rate. If a couple of these one-offs fell into some 4x2s or 4x's on Fanduel, sure. But I'm a little bit trepidatious about committing all the way. But I'm more into the Twins than the Cardinals. Although this is a unique situation where Joe Ryan, in and of himself, is a really, really good pitcher, had a really solid spring, a lot of strikeout potential, 27% carry rate overall last season, a sub-1 whip, pretty linear or pretty consistent with what we saw from in spring. But this Cardinals lineup is tough to strike out, at least as projected. Jordan Walker, Victor Scott, and Wilson Contreras, the 3 guys that are the main strikeout or the most susceptible to strikeouts. But there's a tough lane here. Arenado, Donovan, Burleson, Lars Nootbaar, even Mason Wynn at the bottom. They're going to make you earn them. So I'm kind of on the fence here. And this is how I felt about Dylan Cease last night. And what I saw was the field didn't care that Dylan Cease had a tougher on paper matchup. They just kind of trusted his stuff. So I wonder if we see a similar thing here with Joe Ryan. Although, it is a larger slate, but it is a day 3 for these guys. So I'm probably going to get a little exposure in big field tournaments to Joe Ryan. But if I'm running 20 or less right now, I think I might sit it out on Joe Ryan. But for a great pitcher, he's got a plus park. But if you're trying to tap into super ceiling, man, at 10.5K on Fanduel, you kind of want that strikeout per inning. I think it is possible, but it's gonna be a get. And this is a high OPS team, so I'm kind of on the fence. If I find out that his ownership is double digits tomorrow on Fanduel at 10 plus K, I'm probably gonna steer the other way. But kind of the opposite. If he's low owned, I think there's some merit in taking a shot on the talent. So that's where we kind of are on both sides. The implosion rate, though, if I'm willing to look the other way, if he's too highly owned, well, then I probably want to double leverage it, right, and maybe grab some exposure to these Cardinals bats to some extent. Like I said, the OPS is pretty high, 1 through 6 in a projected. So you can kind of hope he has an average to an implosion and then take advantage of bats against him that would be naturally low owned because of the ownership on the opposing pitcher. So something to think about, especially on FanDuel, where a couple of these guys dip into the 2K price point. Lars Nootbaar, 3K on FanDuel. You could fit that in a couple cool spots. And $1.25 home run per 9 last year to lefties. By Joe Ryan, pretty symmetrical with the home run allowed to the right side of the plate too. So he's definitely not immune to the long ball. So that's all I gotta say about that. So I'm gonna go Joe Ryan here and Cardinals, and I guess Twins. No Fetty. They have weather tomorrow that might keep the ownership off them. For the Cardinals game, so I'm not a weatherman, but I will say, usually the early games I don't sweat for weather too much. I think on opening day they delayed their start. But since it's an early day game, it's at 2 Eastern. That's a large window to get a game going, right? Even if you got to sit around for 5 hours, you got time to do it. So yeah, maybe it does keep ownership away because the game might lock at a certain time slot. But we'll see. If it's a delay start, it's probably good for the pitching. If it's a start and maybe storms roll in, third or fourth inning, then yeah, things could get weird, especially with ownership. So certainly something to keep an eye on. If you're taking notes, put an asterisk on that to go back and double check on the weather. Right now, I just got a 30% chance of rain from the screen I'm looking at, and I don't pretend to be a weatherman, so I'm just looking at the numbers, Mookie walk-off double dong drive home safely. Dude, that's crazy. He was dealing with severe weight loss and potential sickness, and now he's back. What up, Pinstripe? Does that mean the slate's over? Let me see. What was my top lineup? Oh, he actually just knocked me down. Looks like I'm gonna be slightly above breaking even. I guess I didn't have how owned was Mookie that, man. Hey, you know who I snuck in last minute on my FanDuel pool was Jeffrey Springs. He came through clutch, 9 strikeouts and a quality start. Those are the top scorers. Looking about in the 250s on FanDuel. Yeah, Mookie with a 50 bomb. God dang. Shohei ended up getting there. So at the top of the stream, I talked about Shohei being a high-owned kind of bust, and he ended up getting there. Stolen base, a run, a single, and a walk. That'll do it. That'll do it. Yeah, high scoring night. High scoring night. I'm back. Good to see that young Cinderella Dodgers team put together a win there, against that tough Tigers team. Could be a good sign of things to come. Let's move it along to the series that has been lopsided one way or the other. We saw offense on opening day from the Orioles to put up 12, and then Blue Jays kind of punched back last night. I think they put up 8. We are here for the rubber match. Orioles have an implied run total of 4.2. The Blue Jays implied run total 4.5. 5 spring games for Dean Kramer. 15.1 innings pitched, 18 strikeouts, 5 homers, 7 walks. That's a 1.63 whip. He did throw 67 and 77 pitches his last 2 starts, so should be comfortably stretched out. He's really, really cheap on DraftKings. Max Scherzer, 11 innings pitched, 14 Ks, a 0.45 whip, 105 average allowed, 62 pitches in the game on the 22nd. So you would like to feel a little bit better about his pitch count being, it's mid-70s, 70 in spring training, but it's Max Scherzer. Who knows what his pitch count actually is. And he's pretty cheap on both sites. 8,300 on Fanduel, 8,100 on DraftKings. I gotta assume, just reading numbers, that 6 innings is gonna be tough, and this matchup is already kind of tough. But it is a depressed price point that, at least on DraftKings, could be an interesting click. And I did see a decent enough amount of Kevin Gossman in my tournaments tonight that maybe people run it back with Scherzer. This Orioles lineup I find very, very talented, and not necessarily a big strikeout lineup. There are a couple big strikeout guys going back to the beginning of last year. Cowser, O'Neill, Mountcastle, Jackson Holiday. Aggregate 30% K rate essentially between them, but then the other guys in between them are going to make you work for it. And I just think it's a really talented offense, and that's kind of what we saw on opening day. So that's certainly a side I can see both ends of the spectrum. And this might be does the field just not make a decision one way or the other? Are you afraid to play Max because of his pitch count and the tough matchup? Are you afraid to play the Orioles because it's Max Scherzer? Kind of unstoppable force, immovable object of, I don't know, man. Can I just play Coors? You know what I mean? So I'm more interested, I think, right now in the Orioles, just because Max can serve up the long ball. That's kind of been a bugaboo his whole career. And I don't know, I just think all year long you're gonna find me just rostering the Orioles, man. They're young and talented. So give me the Orioles there. I think Max might hit the 3 spot in my interest ranking. But let's talk about the Blue Jays just a little bit. Kramer, 5 homers in spring. Last season, a 22% K rate, sub 10% swing and strike rate, almost a 10% barrel rate, 4.5 expected ERA. Definitely can get got. And we saw this Blue Jays offense show some signs of life yesterday. So with a 4.5 run total, certainly makes a lot of sense to introduce them into the mix. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go Orioles, Blue Jays, Max Scherzer, and then just DK. I don't think Max is an option for me on FanDuel as it stands now. And Dean Kramer, you did your thing, your dog, but that's going to be a no for me. And that's how we run that one out. Let's move on to the next game. Nationals hosting the Phillies. Jesus Luzardo. All right, another guy who has a weird thing in his name. So we can go fix that real quick in the spreadsheet. Find and replace. Wait, Control F. Jesus Luzardo. I need an Excel nerd to give me like the best workaround for this. Jesus Luzardo. So on opening day, Mackenzie Gore pitched for the Nationals and had 13 strikeouts against the Phillies. Now, Mackenzie Gore does have some swing and miss potential in his advanced metrics, more so than Jake Irvin. There's a 20% K rate last season, sub 10% swing and strike rate, an 8% aggregate swing and strike rate the last 2 seasons combined. But something we saw, or I saw, from the Phillies after the game, Alec Bohm mentioned that he thought the strikeouts were a result of the shadows. And he thought it was a dumb start time for that game. And I said yesterday, that's going to be something I want to keep an eye on going forward. And see if that's something we can, I don't know. Or maybe I could even look at last year and just kind of track day games and strikeout rates. Because it is interesting to consider that. Some stadiums are certainly much, much tougher on the eyes when the shadows start moving in as the sun kind of crosses the sky. And what we saw is the Phillies came to life late in that game, extra innings, and started hitting the ball. So something I'm going to keep an eye on. That doesn't mean I'm going to play Jake Irvin, but I think with that line of reasoning, it's going to elevate my interest somewhat with Jesus Luzardo, who is somebody I know can miss some bats. Last season, only a 21.2% K rate, but the swing and strike rate was still there, and the called strike and swinging strike rate was pretty linear with the season prior, right? So it stands to reason that positive regression on that 21% should be coming. And that makes me somewhat encouraged looking at this Nationals lineup that generally doesn't hit for much power against lefties. I got two guys with a 178 plus ISO, Abrams and Dylan Cruz. And Dylan Cruz is pretty doggone good. There's enough strikeouts in 5 of the potential 9 hitters. There are some tougher strikeout guys like Josh Bell, Keibert Ruiz, Luis Garcia, Jacob Young. But at least the guys that are tough strikeouts in the bottom of the lineup, Keibert Ruiz, Luis Garcia, and Jacob Young, it's not like they're working pitch counts. Their walk rates are 3, 4, 5%. They got a 100 or below aggregate ISO, OPS is whatever. So maybe it saves him some bullets and he can go deeper into the game. So I think I might be talking myself into Luzardo, who did throw 80 pitches on the 22nd, and maybe he could take a benefit of the shadows as a southpaw himself, much like Mackenzie Gore, and maybe that's something that doesn't actually exist, but I'm going to talk myself into doing because of Mackenzie Gore and Alec Bohm on opening day. The Phillies, they come into this game with a 4.8 implied run total. So far, that's tied for the most on the slate that we've discussed so far. So they got to immediately be in consideration to play. I found myself really enamored with Philly stacks the last full season I grinded, and I felt like they were letting me down all the time. And then on opening day against a lefty, I was like, yeah, let's go Phillies. This is a great spot. And they let me down. But then I was told shadows. And the same thing today. It's going to be daytime. But Jake Irvin, a righty, is somebody that doesn't have a bunch of ability to miss bats. And he has a pretty elevated barrel rate. So slot machine, whatever you want to call it, I'm on the Phillies here for sure. And Jake Irvin, if you really, really want to look at his main weaknesses, the long ball, particularly against lefties. The last 2 seasons, a 1.6 and a 1.98, basically a 2 home run per 9 to lefties. Elevated hard contact rate, line drive rate close to 20%. So he's somebody that can induce some contact. And if you're going to dare Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper, and even Max Kepler, but more so Schwarber and Harper to make contact. Heck, Brandon Marsh down here in the projected 9-hole, 188 ISO, 792 OPS with that elevated walk rate. You're going to neutralize his 31% K rate with a 19% K rate. We saw that with Eugenio Suarez yesterday against Jameson Taillon. You love the power guys that strike out a lot against low strikeout guys. I'm interested. I'm sold on some Phillies bats here, and they will be in my stack list. They might usurp Luzardo in my interest ranking when it's all said and done. But that's where I'm at here. Give me some Luzardo. Give me some Phillies. Can't see myself stacking Nats. If you scroll through your lineups tomorrow and you got some Dylan Cruz, you got some CJ Abrams, I'm not going to talk you off that ledge, but I don't think I'm filling up on the Nationals. What up, Pojen? Those don't need projections if watch. Okay. Those don't need projections if watch baseball. We're on Roto Grinder show today. Were they talking the same nonsense? I feel like, I don't know, I haven't watched an RG show in a while. I used to. When I first got into baseball DFS, I would catch some of the Roto Grinder shows. I like Dean. I liked Al. I don't think I can tell you who's on it now, but that's some legendary. What was that? What's the show before Lock called? Is it Grinders Live? I got a couple friends over there. I need to stop by. Is my boy from Canada still on some of those shows? Wouldn't it be crazy one day if me and Dean popped up on a chat and just talking? I like Dean's jokes. I like his sense of humor a lot. But yeah, it's funny that he was in their chat. Years ago, when I watched those shows, that show entertained BVP more than any other baseball show out there. So those guys could spark a flame in maybe that chat if they went over there with the no baseball musings, right? Morning grind. I don't think that's the one I'm thinking of, but I've heard of that. That's just a podcast, right? Man, it's been a while. I don't want to feel like I'm burying them because there's some cool people over there. I'm just out of touch with all the shows lately. There's so many companies now. Shout out to the independents, like me and Terry, right? Canadian dude is still here. Yeah, that was my buddy. He was actually on our channel a few times before he got Dean and Chop. Oh, there's a name. Old school. Chop was don't tell me. Chop was that was the Canadian dude, right? Hockey dude? Or am I tripping? I don't know. So funny, the comments were hilarious. Were they like serious? Like, if you know baseball, you know, like those. Every year, I feel like the ecosystem of sports betting and even DFS, and maybe I was guilty of it when I was young. Like, people come into sports betting with an ego, or a lot of people do. I don't say everybody, and those are like the machismo high school athletes. And bro, I know ball. LeBron's gonna get a triple double, and they don't seem to last that long. And when they roll up on some nerds like us, crunching numbers and willingly betting bets that are probable to lose on a one-day sample, but our probability is implied higher in our models than the Vegas odds, so we take the odds because it is quote-unquote a good bet. Like, they don't understand that type of stuff, and they just kind of let it slide. Those are the guys that PrizePicks and the sports books love to see. They love those parlay slinging fans. And that's why you saw I just banned them, bro. Like, they didn't belong here. It's not that I was offended or anything. I was like, man, they're up to no good, and they're just gonna kind of get the train off the tracks. Like last night, it was epic, dude. I might have to go check it out. That's funny though. Hopefully they got a good talking to. Well, sometimes when people like that come to chat, and I could tell that they're new, like, I'll give them an honest answer and explanation. But those guys didn't seem like they were here for that. But they could just be trolls. No Irvin for me. Give me Luzardo. Give me Phillies. Let's move on. Royals hosting the Guardians. Canadian dude has Spidey bombs for yeah. And one was like, I can't believe you like so and so. Yo, he be hitting those. Gavin Williams taking on Seth Lugo. We got a 4.2 implied run total for the Guardians. Royals sitting on 4.5. Gavin Williams through 5 spring games, 15.1 innings pitched, 23 Ks, 232 average allowed, 1.11 whip, 72 and 80 pitches in the last 2 games, so he's fully stretched out. 77 on Fanduel, 84 on DraftKings last year, 76 innings of big league sample size, a sub 7% barrel rate, 10.4% swing and strike rate, 24% overall K rate, 137 whip. The whip looks like it's inflated by his 9.8% walk rate, 9.5 to righties. But there is some strikeout potential there. But once again, this Royals lineup, not a lineup that presents a high strikeout ceiling. Just Salvi and Hunter Renfroe barely exceeding a 20% K rate to righties since the beginning of last year, and MJ Melendez at 26%. So there are some check boxes to like for Gavin Williams, a plus park with some strikeout acumen. But I'm probably going to save that for a different slate just because I think this slate offers plenty of upside and higher floor. Royals, Seth Lugo. Lugo, 16 innings pitched in spring, 16 Ks, 5 walks, 2 homers. He threw 84 pitches on the 22nd, so he's fully stretched out. 8,600 on DraftKings. Like that, the bottom half of this Guardians lineup is much, much different than yesteryear. Aggregate 30% K rate against righties since the beginning of last year. You look at Carlos Santana through Rocchio, there's some sub 670 OPS. So there is kind of reason to poke him with a stick a little bit. Maybe you tap into it, that elevated ground ball rate. Enough of like a close to a 1 in 5 strikeout rate. Maybe there's some reason to tap into that $8,600 price point, and maybe you still a 16 to 20 fantasy point output there from him. What would I be worried about if I rostered Seth Lugo? Generally speaking, Steven Kwan, Jose Ramirez are 2 guys that are really, really hard outs. But I'm not too scared of this Guardians lineup through and through. Looking at Kyle Manzardo last season, so we should have stuff on him, huh? Let me see if he's got a funky name. He's got the whitest Mexican name ever, right? Manzardo, but Kyle. He looks pretty pasty in his picture. Find and replace. It looks normal. Looks normal. Did I just type it wrong? There it is. It's got a 200 ISO against righties since the beginning of last year. Elevated K rate. You could sell me on some shares of Lugo if I wanted to fill out a portfolio of 150 lineups on DraftKings. FanDuel, I don't know if I'm pushing the issue, but even then I wouldn't be too surprised. So I'm gonna kind of put him in the mix. And then Gavin Williams, I don't think I get to Gavin Williams, but I think this Royals lineup is going to be kind of like a poor man's Orioles analysis for me. Maybe the Royals is a bad comp. They have enough spread out talent and ways to score fantasy points. Like Michael Garcia, 233 average allowed, sub nothing ISO, 606 OPS. If he gets on base, though, he's going to run. It's kind of his thing. Let's see, last year, Michael Garcia. So I'm not saying, we're running 20, get to Michael Garcia, but if you're trying to fill out a portfolio, diversify a little bit, get a little funky, if Garcia cracks that lineup, he had 37 stolen bases last season. So take a hit by pitch and swipe a bag at 2,800 on FanDuel. Maybe he kind of gets you there. He is pushing 4K on DK, which is a little bit tougher sell. So how do we give me Lugo, Royals, and another lifetime in this matchup. Gavin Williams, but I think today I'm not pulling the trigger on it. Not today. I'm new, wasn't trolling like Altuve until I found out he's playing outfield. He wasn't good. Yeah, Altuve is a little short to be playing outfield. But I never took the time to dig into it. But evidently, his defense on the infield lacked enough that they wanted to find a spot for him, stick him in the corner. Crawford boxes, it's kind of like Fenway, a little smaller. You can't screw it up too bad. So that's kind of what it is. But we don't really spend too much time looking at a player's defensive assignment. But yeah, Altuve, a lot of those Astro superstars on the decline. Sucks. I hate to see it. I, for one, surely hate to see it. Beat up. Yeah, no, Yonique, he wasn't talking about you. There was two guys that were just specifically in here on some weird stuff. I don't. If you're stumbling on this video on YouTube and you've played one DFS contest and you're slightly intrigued in learning more, feel free to ask anything you want. They say there's no such thing as a dumb question. It's kind of cliche, but I'm not gonna laugh and mock it. I genuinely will try and answer you the best I could. The other night we had a really cool set of questions from Julie, and sometimes, especially in my seat, kind of take for granted what the average viewer does know or needs to be reminded of, just because you just don't know. It's such a weird niche for content. But yeah, if you're out there, or even if you just want to leave a comment or you want to tweet at me on Twitter, I'm all for answering noob questions. But there's a line between noob questions and trolling. And the other night, those guys weren't asking questions; they were just trolling, or at least they were saying dumb stuff, and you couldn't change their mind, and it just brought no value to our community. But if you got questions about DFS, and this is your first season, I saw several great questions in the Discord yesterday for MLB Grind, and homie was like, "I'm sorry for asking so many questions." No, dude, ask away. Especially if you bought a subscription, dude. I'll freaking answer as much as I can, best as I can. We want you. What was I doing? I was talking about Reds and Giants, yeah. Giants 4.2 implied run total. Reds 4.5. Justin Verlander taking on Nick Lodolo. 5 spring games for Verlander. 19 innings pitched, 18 strikeouts, 274 average allowed, $1.25 on the whip. 78 pitches on March 17th. Lodolo, 13 innings pitched, 14 Ks, 3 homers, 2 walks, 196 average allowed, a 0.85 whip. The Giants are a team, historically, you get a chance to take them out of that crazy pitcher's park in San Francisco, and you put them in quite the opposite, a park like Great American Ballpark. I've always been eager to play them because usually people are sour to expectations because half of their games they're putting up 1 to 3 runs and not doing anything. And on opening day, I was kind of the same, but I had enough respect for Hunter Green that I didn't go too crazy. But man, watching the Giants play and then just kind of breaking down some numbers, it is kind of scary how rough they look. And Nick Lodolo has actually been looking pretty solid. So the Vegas totals on this game are pretty hum-ho for average run totals here, below 3 or 4 teams we've already talked about. But sometimes you just got to trust the process. And Great American Small Park is a park that sometimes I'll just stack the park. Not necessarily because I love the matchup for an offense. It's just such a plus park for offense. And looking at this slate, spitballing stadiums, Yankee Stadium, cool. For a matter of fact, I'll show you the park. Just overall home run rating for Yankee Stadium, 22% above average. The overall factor is only 1% above average. So the fantasy upside comes from the long ball, and a lot of that is just from how many boppers are on the team. A park doesn't automatically make you a home run hitter. It just helps you out. You saw it on opening day. Volpe's homer was only a homer at Yankee Stadium, and Austin Wells had a wall scraper. I think that might have been 5 or 6. Guaranteed rate field, 5% below average in home runs versus the rest of the league, 2% below average in scoring. Again, some of it is because they've put together the worst team ever. Busch Stadium, Pitchers Park, Rogers Center has been neutral to pitcher friendly. Nationals Park, neutral to pitcher friendly, really rough for righty power out there in Washington. Kauffman has been 13% below average in overall home run success, 28% below average in home runs for lefties. Righties are a little bit more neutral. Basically what I'm getting at is this is a lot of league average to below league average environment for hitting. And then we go to Great American Ballpark, which is above average in every offensive category. 28% above average in home runs allowed. 42% above average in home runs allowed to lefties. And you just kind of take a shot on random lefties, even if they're good or not. Cover boy for this video is Ellie De La Cruz. Justin Verlander still going to carry some respect to his name, but he is on the decline, and he has diminished strikeout stuff. 18.7% K rate last season, 9.2% swing and strike rate. Last year against lefties, a 1.9 home run per 9. Elevated fly ball rate. The hard contact rate's pretty low, and the barrel rate's pretty low. So it's not like he's getting squared up a lot, but the hitters were making it count. And this is a ballpark where some flyouts become homers real quick. I actually would be interested in seeing a fun stat. If you guys didn't know that you could do this, if you go to baseballsavant.com, you can look up any pitcher and hitter for that matter and see how many home runs they would have hit or allowed in any given park. So I'm kind of curious to see how Verlander would have done in a full season in Great American Ballpark versus his other home park, right? So he allowed 15 home runs last season. If he would have pitched all of his games in Great American, would have been 17. So 2 more homers would have been added to the tally. There's some parks where he would have given up less. So yeah, it doesn't get better for Verlander here. So I'm definitely interested in the red stack. They have a meager total when it comes to comparing them to like the Yankees, the Angels, the Blue Jays, and Verlander still comes with enough household name value that I think maybe some people shy away, but I'm kind of there. I think I'm just there. Give me Ellie De La Cruz, Gavin Lux, Jamer Candelario had a solid fantasy game opening day. So I'm going to put Reds at the top of my interest for stacking purposes. And then Nick Lodolo. I think what's scaring me again is the park more than anything. But man, he's got strikeout potential, and this Giants team just looks pretty rough. Historically, you can give me Wilmer Flores against a lefty. Historically, we've kind of seen those numbers decline since the beginning of last year if you want to isolate those splits. But splits against lefties are generally a little bit more inflated. I think a lot of the sharps kind of feel that way. And you'll see some, like I was watching Terry yesterday. The spreadsheet that he presents, he hardly focuses on splits, and I understand why. You know, the lefty splits are usually a much smaller sample size than the righty splits, but I actually do. I do focus on splits, so it's worked out for me. But because the quantity of at bats against lefties is much smaller in relation to righties, and Wilmer's been playing in a tougher park, it makes sense that his numbers can fluctuate so high or so low. So I can believe in history a little bit more, at least one time against a guy like Lodolo, but I'm still going to rank Lodolo above the Giants offense for now, and then I include the Giants in the interest ranking just because it is the ballpark. What do we do with Justin Verlander, though? Do we play him 8K essentially on both sites? This is not 10K Verlander. Don't need high 20s. Could he sneak into 16 to 20 fantasy points on DraftKings? Definitely possible. I'm kind of shying away from him. I certainly think if I was running 20 or less lineups, maybe even 50 or less, I don't get to Verlander. If you want to diversify the back end of a portfolio, filling out 150, sure. I just think there's too many red flags here with the park, with the diminished strikeout stuff, and some talent on this Reds team. Even if you're not giving a bomb star guy like Ellie De La Cruz, he's fast. That boy fast. Kind of like O'Neal Cruz yesterday. He just found a way to get on. He actually, O'Neal Cruz, I don't know if you saw it, he took a time infraction ball. The pitcher got clocked. So he started at bat 1-0, and then he took a 3-pitch walk, and 2 of those pitches arguably were not balls. And then he he stole a base immediately. So kind of the same thing with Ellie De La Cruz, man. If you just accidentally get on, whether it be he runs out of fielder's choice, takes a walk, takes a hit by pitch, he's going to generate fantasy points. So 6K on DraftKings, you got to go up there and get him. I'm interested to see where that ends up putting his ownership. Are people afraid to play a 6K hitter against the household name Verlander? I think I'm finding that the field is a lot sharper these days than it used to be. But it is a large enough slate that I don't expect super concentrated ownership generally. And at 5,900, I don't know. I'll probably expect it to be sitting around 10%. But man, I kind of dig him a lot here. Let's look at Verlander's pitch report last season. I imagine it's a lot of fastballs, yeah. Almost 50% fastball, slider, curveball, changeup, LE, plus, negative on the changeup. So give me Reds, some Lodolo, some Giants. Right now I'm sitting out Verlander. But if you played him, I get it. I just don't think this is the spot for me. How do you define a pitcher being hot? They got to have a strong jawline, first of all. Nah, I don't know if I... I guess in the terminology that you're probably presenting, if you're saying a pitcher's hot, that means he's had a couple good games in a row. But usually the people that are saying this pitcher's hot right now are looking at results, and results for pitchers are very deceptive at times. And that's why I like to lean a lot into metrics that matter to tell me if a pitcher had a good game or a bad game, or a lucky game or an unlucky game. So metrics that would make me think a pitcher's hot is, one, are they missing bats? What's the whiff rate? What's the swing and strike rate? Are they earning their strikeouts? Or are they getting some rough calls from bad umpires? Are they getting lucky by defensive dives, great plays on defense? Or are they getting unlucky because the ball skipped over a bag? Yesterday, the Marlins had an inning with the kid on the bump where there was that 3-pitch walk I just talked about to Ellie De La Cruz. Then there was like a liner that shot towards him, and he tried to barehand it, and it went away. Then McCutchen hit a double, which maybe a better center fielder gets to anyway. And then on the throw to second base, McCutchen is coming in to second, and Lopez goes to catch. In his mind, he wants to catch the ball and try to tag McCutchen. He looks away before catching the ball and moves the glove to tag McCutchen, and the ball careens off his ear hole, like hits his head. If that was a good pitcher and all we saw was this guy gave up a couple of extra base hits and a bunch of runs, we were like, all right, man, that pitcher's kind of having a rough time. But in that instance, it was a lot of unluckiness for him. So I don't like to lean on saying a pitcher's hot right now or not hot right now. I think hitters, I'm a little bit more willing to be like, yeah, this guy's on fire, or this guy's seeing a beach ball right now. This guy is in a slump. And I think hitters feel the same way. But pitchers, man, five days between action and so many moving variables, literally, while they're out there. You know, they're relying on nine other people to do their part in them doing well. Whereas hitters are relying on themselves. So I'd be more likely to say a hitter's hot right now, swinging the bat well, than a pitcher is. So I would say as a pitcher, is a pitcher performing to his expected metrics, or is he lucky or unlucky? On the MLB Grind premium spreadsheet, if you look at, I'm trying to find an example of what I mean versus lucky and unlucky. The two stats that you can reference for just about everybody on every pitching column. I'm just trying to find somebody that has a stark difference between their ERA and their expected ERA or their Sierra. And on today's slate, I don't really have one guy that stands out super different on that. Here we go. A little bit, Beto, but he doesn't have a ton of sample. But 2.72 expected ERA, 4.23 Sierra, 3.41 ERA. So if a guy's ERA is drastically different than like his expected ERA or his Sierra, whether it be higher than this number or lower, then you could kind of suggest that he's a victim or a beneficiary of luck. And that's kind of what we're looking at. We're kind of looking at the BABIP, the expected ERA, the swinging strike rate, the whiff rate, the stuff like that. I don't get too caught up in hot or cold when it comes to pitchers, because you could always figure out why a pitcher had a bad game. Whether it be velocity, spin rate was down, bad luck defensively, just got beat. You know what I mean? So if they draw more ground balls then, so ground balls are a good thing they're a good thing, but they're also not a good thing in a weird way. Ground balls usually lead to hits more than fly balls. Fly balls you like to see if you're trying to target some power against them. But ground balls is not always a great thing, especially if you have an average to below average defense and a couple speedsters, which is kind of why we were looking at guys like O'Neal Cruz yesterday. If you can just dare him to put the ball in play, it's going to reach. But it's good to have that information. Ground balls will kill, not kill, but typically a ground ball pitcher is not somebody you want to attack just because you're trying to get those homers from DFS. Now, there are some ground ball pitchers that don't give up a ton of home runs, but they just get got by great hitters. Yesterday, first of all, Pete Alonso, he had like a 415-foot fly out, which is an insane result. I think I read that his flyout would have been a homer in 26 parks. And then Juan Soto hit a homer off of Hunter Brown. So Hunter Brown, generally a high velo ground ball guy. You even look at him, so just some good hitters will be able to get to ground ball pitchers. But I don't really know what I'm saying here. It's just that ground balls is not necessarily something that makes a pitcher inherently great or bad. It just is something that makes a pitcher less likely to give up a bomb. And if the barrel rate and the exit velo on average is low enough, maybe those ground balls can clean up a mistake, a walk or a hit, and create that double play ability. Can't wait for Gunn and Terry collab. Yeah, hopefully we can set that up soon. I think give me at least a week of trying to get all this in order on my end. And then you give me and Terry like 2 games of sample size for all these pitchers. We'll have some fun. What I do think is that we shouldn't do a show for like a full slate. Because we will be talking forever. We got to find like a 6-game slate to have some fun on. Josh Giddey in basketball. It's a good question because of the difference between lucky pitchers and unlucky pitchers. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, your BABIP should normalize a lot quicker on your high contact ground ball pitchers. And then I don't want to start this soapbox, but with the shift adjustment in the last couple of years, we've kind of seen that play a role in ground ball pitchers' results. So those stats are still normalizing to what we know is average. Let me move on. Pirates at the Marlins. Bailey Falter, Valiente Bayozo. I don't want to call that man a bozo. Let me make sure this is still on the early slate. It is, right? Where's the main slate begin? 6:05? Okay. So all this still matters for the early slate if you're doing early slate research. Falter, 4 spring games for him, 10 innings pitched, 9 strikeouts, 63 pitches in his last start. Bayozo, I gotta be honest here. I don't know how to say his name. 10.1 innings pitched, 9 Ks, 5 walks, not what you want. 5 homers, not what you want. 70 pitches on March 22nd. The Pirates have a 4.5 implied run total. Marlins right now, 4.2. Pirates were the apple of a lot of eyes yesterday. And if you've paid attention to the Pirates in their first couple of games, they're running, man. They are stealing some bases. I believe they sold 6 bases on opening day, and then yesterday we saw them going again. So this is a team that knows that they're supposed to suck. They got speed. If they get on base, they're going to be aggressive. You got to steal some wins when you can and beat some teams that you could. And they should be beating the Marlins, and they are a favorite to do so again today. So probably back during the well on Bayozo, looking at his his spring training numbers. Pretty alarming. And even going back to last year, heavy fly ball, heavy home run per nines allowed, an 11% barrel rate. So if you're not going to miss the bat of a Mr. O'Neal Cruz, who sent a rocket, a cruise missile, if you will, over the right field wall yesterday, this is another great spot for him to go back to the well and get you some. And I don't think he homered till like his 3rd at bat. And by the time he digged into the batter's box for that one, he already had a walk and a stolen base. So great spot to go back to the well for him. Tommy Pham, he can run. And like I said, they've just been pretty aggressive through and through to put some pressure on the Marlins while on the bases. There's really not much I wouldn't get to in terms of a Pirates stack. So I'm going to go back to the well here, put Pirates as a number 1 interest ranking. Bailey Falter, I just don't think I will. No, thank you. And then the Marlins look like they're going to throw out a bunch of guys. I've got very little info on. So let's start from the top. Waga Man. I'm just going to look at some general minor league numbers Not gonna dive too deep in some of these guys. We just kind of want to get an idea of what we're dealing with. Really got nothing. 18 games last year for LA. 250 batting average, 403 slugging, 673 OPS. Nothing to write home about. Javier Sanoja. And this guy might actually be in the seat. 15 games, 229 batting average. Yeah, so this is a rough looking squad. They're out there to collect draft picks for the future, it looks like. What I still can't pitch against them. Jesus. Xavier Edwards, Derek Hill, Dane Myers, all at least have some reason to click their names. Elevated WRC plus against lefties. Higher ISOs for Myers and Derek Hill. Derek Hill looks really interesting. We'll dig into his splits real quick, see what the sample size is behind that. Let's go last season against lefties. How many at-bats are we talking? 62 at-bats. He hit 5 homers. 306 batting average. What about the year prior? Didn't really play much the year prior. What are the batted ball data saying for him in those at-bats against lefties? 35% hard contact, 35% pull rate. Kind of a crazy home run to fly ball rate. At home against lefties. Was a lot of this damage on the road? Yeah, a couple homers at home. 14%, a little bit closer to what you might expect. So he looks like, chip in a chair territory if you're looking to save a couple pennies here. If he ends up batting second as projected, Derek Hill looks like there's a reason to click his name tomorrow. Maybe you handcuff him to Xavier Edwards. Kind of go from there. But I don't want to stack the Marlins. But I'm not playing Bailey Falter. So right now I'm leaning on just the Pirates. But I can one-off a couple of these guys at the top of the Marlins lineup. Kind of go from there. Kimmy. I like the idea of waiting for a couple games to get a feel for it. Yeah, for sure. You get me in. Maybe we can get to a point where me and Terry can do a show a week or do something where we share appearances, one day on my channel, one on his, something like that. I know he doesn't care and I don't care. We just gotta do it. I feel bad. Yesterday I went live, dude. I hadn't paid no attention, dude. I just know I needed to get a stream in as promised. And then when I think I talked about Terry, so I was like, yeah, y'all check out him. And I got off and I was like, Terry's been live for 30 minutes. Whoops. I don't want to step on anybody's toes, man. I bowed out. I let everybody else do their thing. I'm just doing me, you know what I mean? But Terry's cool, people. Marlin stacking, let's go. Is it better to go after pitchers the batters haven't seen this early in the season as a 2? Maybe 10, 15 years ago, I could think about that. These days, man, you'd be surprised the tech that is in that dugout. They got these iPads. Like I watch every Yankee game, and maybe the Yankees are a little bit more bougie than others. If some other team brings some guy out of the bullpen, Aaron Judge is right there at the top of the dugout, looking at this guy's pitches, like looking at video of him pitching, and they have batting cages in the tunnels with like AI and computers that can give you an idea. So I would say, like, historically, just from a I know baseball type thing, like I get what you're saying, but I think that might be a little bit more noisy these days, where it should not necessarily be something you pay too much attention to, because all these guys have their arm slots, their arm angles documented on like Baseball Savant and Baseball that stuff. So all these billion-dollar teams just have the tech for guys to be ready for it. Now it's a different from seeing the tech to actually being out there and feeling it. But these are professional hitters, man. You only need to take a pitch or two to kind of adjust. So I wouldn't overthink that. But that is something like I used to be like, yeah, man, you don't want to pick a pitcher that's seen this team in back-to-back starts. You know, it can only benefit the hitter type stuff. But I don't think in this day and age I would weigh that too heavily. Went on Sean opening night. I think you might got auto-corrected there. What was I needing to do? Nothing, right? We're just on to the next game. Rockies at the Rays. They played yesterday. And they play again today. Antonio Senzatella. There's a name we're going to have to adjust to, I believe, in the spreadsheet. So give me a second. Also, what is this? Why are we getting... No, all right. Live data. If you want to elaborate on that while Antonio Senzatella. All right, Antonio. Oh, went on Sean on opening. Okay. Why am I not getting a ton of stats for Senzatella? What is happening? Did he not pitch much? Oh, he only had 12 innings last year. 7 the year prior. Okay. Well, I am familiar with Senzatella from the years prior, and he was a heavy contact ground ball guy. And I don't think that has changed. 17.1 innings pitched in spring. 16 Ks? That's actually higher than I would have thought. A homer, a 1.67 ground out to air out ratio. So the elevated strikeout right there is actually surprising. It's still less than a strikeout per, but man, he wasn't even that back in the day. But that ground ball rate is interesting as far as suppressing opposing offenses because the Rays get the benefit of Steinbrenner Field. If you didn't catch that yesterday, Steinbrenner Field is the Yankees spring training complex, and that park is built to mimic the dimensions of Yankee Stadium. So in the spreadsheet, I've just simply put the park factors of Yankee Stadium here. So what we should expect, at least over the term of the season, is an influx in homers, especially for lefty power hitters. And I'm probably looking more so at the Rays side for this series. Guys like Brandon Lau, Josh Lowe, mainly Brandon Lau. But Senzatella has been a ground ball guy. So let me go to at least, let's just look at what we got. Let's go last year. We'll go year by year. Last year we only got 7.2 innings against lefties. That should be enough to at least give us an idea if things are still going. 56% ground ball rate in those innings. 14.3% home run flip. Let's man, I want to isolate as much as possible to road stats, but I also don't want to diminish the sample size, but it is what it is. We just need to understand and accept the nuances. So away versus lefties last year, 67% ground ball rate with no homers. So you took them out of cores, and it wasn't too bad. But I don't really know what the innings on that is. Away versus lefties. A 222 BABIP, 0.6 WHIP. That's 3 point. So that's 10 outs. It's not really like enough for me to go crazy with, but I'm just gonna. Let's go look at the last full season. Now, we're talking 2-3 years ago, so it's all grain of salt stuff. But right now, I'm just trying to talk myself into not loving the Rays, just because they're in Steinbrenner Field. 2022 away versus lefties. Yep, sub 0.8 home run per 9, 351 average though. very elevated average through and through. And that goes what we were just talking about a little while ago. Those ground ball guys, those contact guys, ground balls equals hits. The xFIP was up there as well. Although the xFIP away versus lefties is actually pretty solid, 3.17. In no way am I ever going to consider rostering Senzatella today. I'm just kind of trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this Rays team. I guess we got to get some shares of them. What's their total? 5.1? Dang, that's the highest on the slate so far. Yeah, I guess I'm just overthinking it. Rays are minus 202 favorites here. Ooh, what a 5.1 run total. So, off the rip, you got to put them in the stat consideration. Rockies just look rough, man. Rockies have oh my God. The K rate in that lineup is nuts. They have two guys that are 1% above league average in WRC plus against righty. I mean, that is horrendous. With that said, Little 13.1 innings pitched, 10 Ks, 5 walks, a homer, 86 pitches on the 19th. Like, these are not stats I want to roster, but god dang, this team sucks. Is it 11.1% swinging strike rate for Little last year? Homie's probably going to steal some strikeouts. Did have a home run problem, both sides of the plate. Rockies also have a home run problem, particularly trying to hit them. Rockies are they look pretty atrocious as is right now. I want to go look at their road splits last year. And like I said, Steinbrenner Field's going to play power friendly to opposing lefties that swing for power. They don't really have that. Let's split Colorado. Let's go VL on road. Is that a split? No, we just go road. Yeah, I'm not going to isolate each guy, but we'll just go. Did they not give us there we go, away. Let's go active roster. Active roster away. Homers. Michael Toglia. We go splits on him. He hit 17 homers on the road last year. 8 at home. I was wondering why when I looked at the bomb detector, Michael Toglia was third behind Ohtani and Judge. Well, we just found out why. Little 1.23 homer per 9 to lefties. Dang. All right, well, there's a one-off. Fanduel at 3K. If Toglia is top 5, we can get him a little higher. He looks like the guy I'd be looking to try and get out. There's a couple 200 ISOs, but let's see. How about Bryant on the road last year? Chris Bryant hit no homers on the road last year. Ezekiel Tovar had 13. What? Is this wrong? That just doesn't feel right. Ryan McMahon, I can believe. Brenton Doyle, yeah. Everybody else, eh. Bro, who let Ezekiel Tovar hit 13 homers on the road? Good for him. Basically, I'm trying to spin the wheels here to see if I play some little. Just because of how bad this lineup is. I think if we're filling out 20 no. That DK price, I'm just like, I'm seeing it. Right now I'm going to leave him out the pool. But I think there's a big field tournament merit in playing little. There's a little bit of hope in that swinging strike rate versus this column to produce a good number in an SP2 slot on DraftKings. Fanduel, I don't think I'm doing it, but even then on Fanduel, largest implied favorite to win. So maybe you get that. He did throw 86 pitches on the 19th, so could be fully stretched out for 95 to 100. It is a back-to-back for them. A lot of these other teams were off yesterday, so maybe the Rays. And I don't know. All right. Leaving Rays right now. One off in Rockies in the pool when we get there. Little's on the fence. I'm on the fence. Let's get caught up. Starting pitcher of the White Sox. Oh, is that who you're talking about? Oh, okay. Yeah, dude, that was man, so many people, and even we're gonna see it today. The numbers just don't lie. They're in your face, and it's just like, man, people are hyping up the Angels. I'm like, man, these are rough numbers to get by. So I wasn't brave enough to click that Sean dude, but hey, man, GG to you. had enough to get Gore, but thought to Philly assume every year. Yeah, I know. I don't know if you heard at the top of the stream, but Alec Boehm blamed Mackenzie Gore's successful day on the shadows of the sun. We'll see if that's the case next time they go through. I don't know. Baseball. Gun said it's overthinking it. Yeah. Baseball is there's so many stats, so many narratives, so many angles to play that I could dang near pick anyone out of this spreadsheet and come up with some crazy reason to play him based on some stat. So a few times while going on these little soapboxes, I've said to be numb to the variance and try to make your process as efficient and fast as possible. Because day-to-day variance you're gonna grow white hairs pretty fast if you're stressing out over 3 hours of research. Because I mean, there are people that will look at the heat map on a pitcher's tendencies versus hitters. They're like, don't do all that. That's just a waste of time. Just find a couple stats to lean on, and just kind of be numb to the daily variance, understanding that the process is right. And if you allow yourself to research in circles, it's what we call paralysis by analysis, and it's not good for your health. Don't do it. Yep, there it is, Savan. Paralysis by analysis. I have someone say something like, I didn't think about that, and it worked out, sometimes not. Like in hockey, someone mentioned player had bought a load of tickets because first time. Yeah. So, man, in baseball, I don't really... you hear about that in basketball. Like, oh, this player bought 50 tickets for a group of Serbians on Serbian Appreciation Night, and maybe narratives I'm a little bit more on for like basketball, maybe hockey. Baseball is like you get 4 to 6 chances for a batted ball event, man, and just kind of make it as least noisy as possible. But I don't fault people for having fun with it. Like that Tyler O'Neill 6 opening day home run stuff is just fun. If you got some guy that has 5 BVP homers, it's fun, cool. I I don't think you're an idiot for doing it. There are some people that are just strictly one side or the other. That's not part of my research process, but it's fun because I just love the game of baseball. It's fun to see that type of stuff. So, who doesn't love the cameras cutting to the rookie's family when the guy gets his first hit or his first homer, dude? So, if you want, hey, you want that part of your process, narrative chasing, man, do it. Just understand it's a rocky road, but we're here to have some fun now. The next game on the docket is going to be in the night slate. So that's a wrap on the early stuff. If you guys had any questions, comments, concerns on the early stuff, a quick recap on where we were on notes then. Yankees, Fried, Angels, Soriano, Ryan, Cardinals, and Twins. Orioles, Blue Jays, Scherzer on DK. Jesus Luzardo, man, I'm really talking he might be my Jeffrey Springs of the day. I don't know, man. I don't know. Pitching maybe isn't as deep as I thought it was going to be. Just by saying there's so many games. But I guess to be fair, it is day 3. At the top of this pitching pool. So Max Fried, Joe Ryan, Seth Lugo. Dude, on DraftKings, pitching gets to 8,600 real fast. Like, it's Max Fried. You don't have any pitchers at 10K. So this certainly might be a median expectation day for pitchers, and you're just kind of hoping for anyone that gets a 16 to 30, yeah? Which does kind of crack the door open a little bit more for some of these guys that have been fringe on. Like the Lodolos, maybe the Verlanders, heck, maybe the Scherzers, right? Man, it is some type of feeling to look up and see Max Scherzer 81, Justin Verlander 8K on DraftKings. It's a crazy world we live in. Should be fun. Maybe. Hopefully. I like baseball. If first game and families there and such worth the fight. Yeah, it's just fun. Just pick the best game between the teams. In a nutshell, just pick the best game between the teams, then the team. Yeah, 2x pitcher. Yeah, that's what we shoot for on DK. The best game between the teams, then team. So, like, the best game as far as, like, scoring environment and run totals. Like, I don't think that's a crazy process to just keep attacking that. But I feel like that is generally going to be more so the chalky process. Like, if there's only 2 teams with a 5-run total, like, generally that's baked into all the industry projections, and it's going to increase the ownership on all those guys. And kind of the true tried and tested process for baseball profitability day to day is to find the nuts, pun intended, to be contrarian and and if research can lead you to justify going there, learn how to do that research. But it also kind of like depends on how you're playing baseball DFS. If you're out here playing single entries, 3-entry maxes, stuff like that, I would have a slightly different process than running 100, 150. Because with 150, it's easy for me to sit here and run 150 lineups and tell you guys, be numb to the variance. And understand you're going to have lineups in last place because you stack the Cubs against Yamamoto or something like that. But if you only need to beat 1,000 lineups in a single entry, it means a lot more than trying to beat 80,000 lineups, right, in a 150 max. Especially with as wild of output as baseball will offer. Actually, dude, the top lineup in a couple of contests I was in today on Fanduel, it was insane. It was like it was not a stack. Let me see if I can find it. And that's when guys like me just hate life. It's like I did all this work to draw up my stacks. This guy, I guess at the end of the day, a stack did get there. Maybe a second place. Yeah, this guy in second place. or in one of these contests. Dude, he had like random double dong from Jonah Hill. Not Jonah Hill, Jesus. Jonah Heim. Jesus. That slip of the tongue was super bad. Oh, wrong. Oh, I forgot. I got the soundboard for my Twitch streams. I could do that on my YouTube streams. Anyway. Play both teams, but get it weird if both high run projections like reach around stacks. Yeah. Like it's not bad to be on chalky stacks. You just kind of have to find ways to make it attack it and be less owned. Like guys like Jonah Heim, right? I can't believe I said Jonah Hill. Guys, when I stream on Twitch for video game stuff, I have a soundboard, and I never had this set up when I did YouTube streams in the past. So maybe the next time we do get a trolls, I could use it, right? Hey man, what the f you talking about? Yeah. Anyway. Let's go over to the main slate. I feel bad for people watching on replay. Like, dude, this guy needs to shut up and get going. All right, 6 game main slate, night slate. I think, man, I think it's fun that we have 2 distinct playable slates. No cores to ruin it all. And all the slates seem kind of middle of the pack when it comes to pitchers, but I think the night slate, the top end, or at least the ceiling of the top end, gets a little bit higher. So let's get cracked open. Red Sox and the Rangers continuing their series, 3rd game in a row. So they are one of a few teams that have been playing every day for 3 days. They have a 4.6 implied run total. Rangers have a 4.7 implied run total. Rafi Devers, I talked about it earlier. He struck out 7 of his first 8 at-bats. This is too early in the season to bench a guy on the road so he can get his head right. But that's a little bit alarming. But I'm not too worried about it. It is Rafi Devers. I expect him to turn things around. And I do think a couple solid pitchers came out the gate. To start today, he gets Tyler Mahle on the bump for the Rangers. Mahle, 12 innings pitched, 11 Ks, 5 walks, 2 homers, had a 200 average allowed, a 108 whip. So not too terrible. Not a strikeout per inning, and that's not something that he was offering last season with an 18% K rate. However, he did have an 11.4% swinging strike rate, so there's a little bit of room for optimism that K rate goes up, and that was only in 12.2 innings pitched. So if he goes back to a little larger sample size from the season prior, maybe there's some room to dip back into the 20+%. But I think for the time being, this Red Sox lineup just looks really doggone good, and I'm not gonna pick on them, not even if there's a fire. So let's immediately put Red Sox in the interest ranking. And Walker Buehler is pitching for the Red Sox. 10 innings pitched for him in spring, 11 strikeouts, 65 pitches on March 18th, a 189 average allowed, a 0.8 whip. So that's a good sign if you're a Walker Buehler fan, I guess. If you're a Red Sox fan, it's a great sign. He certainly had a rough stretch. Injury riddled. I mean, this guy was ace-like levels a couple seasons back, then got a little bit hurt. We dig into his stats from last season with the Dodgers. He was struggling. We'll look at his pitch type splits. Let's go. He had a 342 average allowed on his fastball. Not what you want. 278 average allowed on a knuckle curve. If you look at the year prior, 365 average allowed on that fastball. And then the year prior, 201, a 102. So he lost a little bit of efficiency on that pitch. I don't know that we can I'm looking at the velocity looks similar, so I guess when something like that happens, it's likely either a spin rate thing or a arm slot thing. The fact that he did efficient enough in spring training is something I'm encouraged by. I don't know that I want to run to test the Rangers like that, but I also wonder if the projection models and the field are pretty down on Walker Buehler just because of the stats that you do have to go off of from the last year or two and what he became. So it might be one of those, can we strike oil early before everyone else and get a decent pitcher like Luis Severino on opening night and get a pitcher that people don't love right now based on the metrics, but maybe there's some talent in there worth trying to extrapolate. So I'll be probably diving a little bit deeper into his stuff tomorrow, see if I can find some more film, watch some of his spring training starts, because it's one thing to walk away from spring training with a bunch of strikeouts. You don't really know who those strikeouts are against. Is it against some double-A rookie or some traveling quad-A guy trying to find a job, or is it against a big league quality bat? So got to put a little context to it as well. So I'm going to put an asterisk next to Buehler. I'm definitely in on the Red Sox. Tyler Mahle, no. And then I guess the Rangers are a big maybe. They're actually slight favorited here. So if I'm on the Red Sox offense, kind of only makes sense to... I probably play both sides of the Rangers and Buehler and just kind of see what happens. So let me put Rangers, and then I'll put Buehler, ? Buehler. And that's how we walk away from that game. So I like DFS dudes like Gunn and Terry. The others good vibes. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's exactly it, Pojan. I don't want to tell you what to play. I'm just researching. If you got an idea, let me know. I'll look at it. I'll tell you why I agree or disagree. One thing I learned really early on doing this, we're going to be wrong a lot. So there's no reason to speak in absolutes. It will bite you really, really soon. Like on opening day, I was pretty high in the Phillies. And they were my 13th reason why when Mackenzie Gore got 13 strikeouts. But then they popped off in the extra innings. So it is what it is. Sometimes you're going to be right. Sometimes you're going to be wrong. The new gamblers kind of don't understand that. And that's what I mean by being numb. As long as you trust your research and your process is what it is. Can't sweat the results too much. How much is bullpen a factor? It will be a pretty, I won't say significant, but it will be something to that I'm going to have in this spreadsheet. I'll probably set it up tomorrow. The bullpen usage. The thing with the bullpen is, for a lot of teams, you can kind of predict whose turn it is to pitch, but a bullpen is still unpredictable for the most part. And I was talking about that in the MLB Grind Discord earlier. We're doing all this research on starting pitchers, and that represents half the game. There's still an entire half of the game that we really can't account for too much. Now, once we get some sample size, we'll know what bullpens are good, what bullpens are not. But a lot of those numbers are pretty swayed by the performance or lack thereof of one or two guys. And the quality of arm that you go to is also something that is swayed by the scoreboard and also by the matchup. So if I pull up a bullpen usage chart and I see that, a reliever threw 11 pitches yesterday, it's probably available tomorrow, and then tomorrow they're down 7 runs or something, they're probably not going to go to that guy. And in a weird way, the better a team is doing, the better a team is likely to still do once they kick a starter out. Like if you drop a 5 spot on a starter and you're getting to the bullpen in like the 4th inning, a lot of times the manager is putting out a average to below average mop-up guy that they've essentially accepted the loss and they're just out there trying to get outs. So if you've done that, now your hitters get a much better matchup to put up some runs. And I think on opening day, was it the Blue Jays? I think the Blue Jays put a position player out there on opening day. And when that happens, then it gets real crazy. So bullpens are everything and nothing at all at the same time. When the bullpen information starts settling and you start knowing who the elite bullpens are, that information does more to me than trying to key the bad bullpens, because the elite bullpens can cut a game in half, and as long as the game was within a couple runs, we're in trouble, and those umps are gonna, make the matchup as difficult as possible. So bullpens will be a pretty significant factor in research in about a week or two when we have a little bit more data, a little bit more information on the roles players are going to fill. Like some teams are probably still not exactly sure who's going to be their closer. They're just kind of putting guys out in situations and going from there. But I will have a bullpen usage chart in the spreadsheet that will show a 5-day rolling usage for guys in the pen, and we'll be able to kind of guess who we might go after if the starter gets knocked up. Mid relievers can be accounted for in research. Some of them can. Like when Kikuchi was in Toronto, a lot of times we knew he was going to get piggybacked by somebody, or when the Rays were pretty heavy on the openers, we kind of knew, like, okay, Ryan Yarbrough is going to come out, probably throw a couple innings, and yeah. But it's predictably unpredictable. Sometimes it doesn't go according to plan. Let's move on to the next game here, y'all. Guys, do I ramble too much? I feel like every time I get a question, I give a little presidential speech. Hopefully that doesn't annoy people too much on the replay. Mets and the Astros. What a series they're having. Mets have an implied run total 4.2. Spencer Arrighetti and his offense a 4.5 implied run total. Canning through 12.2 innings in spring, 20 strikeouts, 1 homer, 196 average allowed, 103 whip. Stop me if you heard this before, but we saw it with Tyler Maygill, saw it with Clay Holmes. There's some stuff that I kind of like, but it's the Astros, and I kind of don't want to pitch against them. And today I probably won't pitch against them, but 11% swing and strike rate last season, 12.8 the season prior. I think there's room for positive regression on that 17.6% K rate because of the strikeout stuff. But Astros are just kind of annoying to pitch against. So I don't think he's going to make he's not going to make the list of priorities, that's for sure. 4.74 expected ERA last season, 8.6% barrel rate. That stuff is pretty attackable. So we'll kind of see. I think unlike the early slate, this slate's going to give us some high ceiling options. The Roki Sasaki's, the Imanagas. And even in this game, I did a little bit of looking at Spencer Arrighetti, and I kind of am somewhat interested in him, even though I kind of feel the same about the Mets. I'm not super stoked to pitch against Pete Alonso and Juan Soto, but there is some strikeout potential in that lineup. Talking about Arrighetti, 6 spring games for him, 15 innings pitched, 18 strikeouts, 13 walks. Hello? 4 walks in 3 of his last 4 games. Meaning, in 3 of those games, he allowed 4 walks in the game. 85 pitches on March 23rd. So stretched out, has some command issues. He's one of those atypical high walk, high strikeout potential guys. Last year, a 12.6% walk rate to lefties. Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto. These are two guys with a sub 20% K rate to righties. Decently high walk rate, especially Juan Soto. If they're going to get this kid to throw balls, excuse me, get a free base and put a guy like Pete Alonso on. This could be a combustible spot. Like I kind of see both sides of this coin. I think we could tap into the potential of that K rate getting through. Like, you know, if he squeezes by the Lindors, the Sotos, taps into this aggregate 22 to 23% K rate from 3 through 9 of the projected lineup, there's some strikeout potential. But if he's got the jitters and he can't throw strikes, especially when a guy like Juan Soto is Soto shuffling in your face, this could be the makings of a big inning. And what I mean by that is you walk Lindor, you walk Soto, and there you got Pete Alonso, who had a 415-foot flyout yesterday. I think he actually turned around and homered as well. So his bat is swinging just fine. And Arrighetti last year, 157 home run per 9 to righties with a elevated fly ball, elevated hard contact rate. So you can certainly see that 2-run shot in Alonso's future based on the DNA of the metrics here. So I think we're going. I think I'm going Mets, Astros, and then some Arrighetti. Just to be different in DraftKings tournaments. Yeah. Where can we beat up Griffin Canning? Well, it looks like he gives up homers both sides of the plate last year. Elevated hard contact rate. So Yordan Alvarez, Christian Walker, they're the guys to look at for the power here. Can Isak, Paredes, Altuve get on for him? Maybe. I'm less interested in the full stack of the Astros from where I'm sitting right now than I am the Mets. Meaning, what do I feel better about, 4 Mets or 4 Astros? Man, Lindor, Soto, Pete Alonso is an easy 3 for me. Alvarez, Christian Walker, easy 2. But then when I try to stretch out, I don't feel that great about tournament upside individually for, I guess it would be Yiner Diaz and Altuve. But even then, so I'm leaning Mets on top of Astros. But Astros are actually favorited, so maybe I'm pushing back against people that know better than me. Yeah, there is definitely a lot of gray areas when it comes to baseball processes and questions in general, and I think that's why we only have 15 viewers right now. It's also probably because it's 1:30 in the morning, but it's not as cut and dry as most other sports, and it's a lot of confusing numbers. So only the strong survive. You gotta love it or leave it. What up, Ray-Bans? Jokic cost me 900 by half a point on an 8 picker. No, man, that's tough. NBA's harder than baseball. Man, I'll tell you what. There was a time when I was first a DFS baby pro player. I was going crazy in NBA, so I became a full-time DFS player, and I started playing baseball. And I was like, man, baseball DFS is just the hardest. And I would hear all these other top pros say that baseball is the easiest. I was like, you're an idiot, bro. But now that I got some time in, baseball is kind of the easiest because of the process becomes efficient once you fine tune it Whereas NBA, you got to track news all day. In NBA, you got to worry about blowouts. If a team blows out another team in baseball, yeah, in the eighth inning, they might yank their bats, but those guys already obliterated value more than likely. Sometimes in basketball, foul trouble and blowouts and people getting scratched and sicknesses you don't know about. I feel like the variance in basketball, and especially football, is kind of more stressful, more frustrating to me than baseball. Because baseball, the variance is at least constant, where you can account for this was always in the cards to happen. I think I remember one playoff game, Marcus Mariota threw a touchdown pass to himself. You know what I mean? And we just spent all day handcuffing receivers to quarterbacks type stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like stuff like that you really can't account for in those sports that you can't hear. So I would agree with you. I think baseball is easier process-wise once you account for the unaccountable in the other sports. Competition in NBA, everybody knows over him. You can get an edge in baseball. Yeah. It's also just don't change your process off of a bad day, a bad week, and kind of stick to it. You like the variance in baseball or NBA. The variance in baseball is the edge, if that makes sense. Like Mike Trout. I'll just say Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani is more likely to fail on a daily basis than Nikola Jokic is, right? Like, you roster Jokic, you're probably getting 50 fantasy points, or, whoever the GOATs are these days. You expect Ohtani to be the top 1%, but Ohtani, on any given slate, you're looking at 20-25% on an average slate. If he has one, and tonight he started off having like 3 fantasy points for a bit. You're not gonna get there with Jokic. Jokic, you're always kind of live, and the failure rate of chalk in basketball is certainly not long term anywhere near the failure rate of chalk in baseball, especially when we get into dog days, and the pivots are always there. Because some random no names at 2K can kind of get you there. So I think we're all in agreement on that one. It's more straightforward. Yeah. Easy might be a little bit of a insulting word, because I do take pride in some of the knowledge that we've had to create to make our process as quick and efficient, but man, I don't want to sit here and look at Twitter for 3 hours straight. Like yesterday, the Grizzlies fired their coach a couple weeks from the playoffs, and it's just like, what? It's like, that's only happening in baseball if the guy's for sure getting fired on a dumpster team, you know what I mean? And then I don't know. I don't want to get another tangent here unless it's strictly baseball, because this show is certainly running long. Let's go next game on the docket. Braves at the Padres. Spencer Schwellenbach, Australian for beer, up against Randy Vasquez. 4.4 implied run total for the Braves. The Padres sitting at 3.8. Wow. Schwellenbach, 13.5% swing and strike rate, 25% K rate overall, 123.2 innings of sample size last year. Saw people willing to pitch against the Padres last night, so I think people are going to be willing to pitch against the Padres tonight. But again, the strikeouts aren't like inherited here through and through this lineup. Probably an aggregate 18% K rate with Luis Ariz, who just doesn't strike out. But this team also doesn't draw walks, so maybe you keep that pitch count down. So it's definitely a combustible boom-bust spot. But I get it, right? Spencer had 19 innings in spring training, 26 strikeouts, 229 average allowed, a 1 whip. Just really, really good numbers. So I think on talent alone, we're kind of there. So we'll put him in the interest rankings. And then Randy Vasquez pitching for the Padres, 3 games in spring, 6 innings, 5 Ks, 44 pitches, 39 strikes out of that 44 pitches. So that's actually like, I only wrote that down because that's like really good to only throw 5 balls and 44 pitches. Let me see if he's in the spreadsheet. He is. So he's got one of those funky characters that we have to replace. Randy. Last year, 98 innings pitched, a 14.4% K rate, 1.5 whip, 5.94 expected ERA, almost a 6. 8% swing and strike rate. Was getting just mollywopped by lefties. 365 average allowed, 134 home run per 9. Braves 4.4 run total. That's it. That's it. Maybe and this is a day game for San Diego, right? 7:15 Eastern, so it's probably like 5-4. The West Side, man, I don't know, man. Braves might be getting disrespected there. You can see Profar had a crazy at bat the other night too. Yeah, I'm in on the Braves instantly off of that. And then Padres. I think Padres is just a respect stack. Not gonna go crazy. Not playing Randy Vasquez. Not even if there's a fire. Just not doing it. That's how we rank that game out. Gonna bet Ohtani home run paired with discounts and free spots all season long. Yeah, Ohtani's really, really good. Always a chance of 0. Jokic no 0 unless he gets hurt. Yeah. But even more so than that, like, if Jokic scores 20, you're dead, right? But, like, in a weird way, Ohtani's more likely to score. And Ohtani's a freaking unicorn. So I don't want to be like I'm disrespecting him, but, like, I don't know. Ja Morant. Just any high usage, high average fantasy player in basketball is way less likely to fail on his given day than Ohtani. And even even if Jokic gives you 48, you're still kind of like in the window of expectation because of that floor, and you're still not dead in the water. When Ohtani gives you that 25% 0, man, you're trying to keep your head above water. Randy's hot garbage. What up, Kyle? Appreciate the honesty. Ohtani, I was like to shout out Dean Creamer. Gonna have to buy Gundacker some Ghost Energy if I ever in the Garden City. Dude, I appreciate that. I already drank 2 Ghosts yesterday, so I didn't want to pop another one tonight. So sorry if I feel like I'm a little zombie. Minus 4 corners game. You like the Braves catcher? Right now I got who's talking about? Drake? We can look up some numbers, I guess. Oh wait, I got the night slate open. Or I got the day slate open, not the night slate open. I like everybody. I don't really need to click names right now. This guy looks pretty rough. So I'm in on everybody. And on DraftKings, if you gotta play a catcher, you might as well put a catcher that's in your stack and make it happen. But we'll see for sure. Full Throttle energy drink. You like Full Throttle? I'm a Ghost guy. Cubs at the D-backs. Man, D-backs are having some fun last night. 4.5 implied run total for the D-backs tonight. 4.2 for the Cubbies. They've been scoring runs out there, but this is probably the best pitcher so far. I think the Cubs will offer up. Yesterday was just a contact pitcher in Jameson Taillon that was kind of doomed from the start. Imanaga is pretty good. He's at 14.5% swing strike rate last year, 25% K rate, 102 on the whip. Did pitch in spring, and they went to Japan. So he's stretched out. He is 9K on both sites, so you're going to have to go up there and get him. And this is a matchup where you're kind of betting on talent. If you do go and grab him, I think if you heard me talk about the Great American Ballpark on the early slate, I kind of feel the same here about Chase Field on the night slate. I know Chase Field, humidor, it's not what it used to be, but man, they popped the lid on that roof. It still plays well, I think, and we've seen the top of this lineup. Maybe not so much last night. Corbin Carroll kind of let me down, but this is a team that can generate power and speed. And Corbin Carroll, I touched on it on the stream yesterday, leads the league in runs value as far as base running goes, between legging out extra bases and stealing bases. So, yeah. Eugenio Suarez swinging a hot bat. 2 homers yesterday. He's got 3 so far. It's just a interesting top of the lineup. Suarez also 196 ISO against lefties since the beginning of last year. 31% K rate. Now, unlike yesterday against a guy like Jameson Taillon, where we can neutralize the strikeout rate, we got to respect the strikeout rate here in Imanaga. But he has a tendency to strike out lefties more than righties, but he does still get righties at a 1-4 clip, but he also gives up homers. So I'm kind of definitely going to be on both sides of that. I probably will get to more Imanaga than the D-backs off rip, but I'm absolutely playing both sides of that fence. And then Brandon Pfaadt, I think I saw him. They announced he signed some contract extension with them. Good for him. But as far as pitching goes in fantasy, I'm not that enamored to click his name today. He threw 13 innings in spring, 12 strikeouts, 5 walks, 84 pitches, stretched out. On the Cubs side, the Cubs were pretty rough yesterday, and Kelly wasn't necessarily a cupcake matchup, but it was a matchup that I kind of expected a little bit more out of. But that 1 through 4 in this projected lineup, Ian Happ, Kyle Tucker, Seiya Suzuki, and Michael Busch, they all have 200 plus ISO against right-handed pitching, and Brandon Pfaadt over 1 homer per 9 last year against righties. However, he does strike out righties at an elevated clip. He doesn't, however, strike out lefties quite as much. Less than 20% last year, but a 1.23 homer per 9, a 294 average allowed, and a 37% hard contact rate. So Kyle Tucker, I'm kind of at the slot machine at this point. But the slot machine costs more than a quarter today. $6,000 on DraftKings, $4,200 on DraftKings. So it's all, on $4,200 on Fanduel. So it's all kind of baked in there. Michael Busch looks like a greater value on Fanduel than he is on DraftKings. If you want to get to him and tap into that ISO and hope to neutralize that K rate, elevated walk rate as well. But it's hard to get excited about the bottom of this lineup. So I'm not. I think I'm handcuffing maybe one off on a couple of the top of the Cubs here. Kyle Tucker can always fall into a lineup. So give me Imanaga and the D-backs, ironically. And I probably don't get to any Brandon Pfaadt. Just not going to do it. Maldonado's going to break the slate. Yeah, when I was typing his name yesterday, I was like, still in the league. Good for him. Some people are still in the league that you're like, wow, really? And then there's some people not in the league. You're like, wow, really? Like when I saw McCutcheon hit that double yesterday, I was like, good for Cutch. The cool thing streaming this late, no one else is for baseball. Yeah. Midnight Madness. Don't think you've seen a blue full throttle for a while. Yeah. If you guys are ever out, like, dude, my desk, I look like such a college burnout, dude. I just have so many empty cans of Ghost Orange Cream, dude. I pop 2 a day. I go to the 7-Eleven and they're just like, they might as well have it ready for me. But you guys see one of these at your gas station, dude, you owe it to yourself to check it out, man. If you're an energy drink. If you don't drink energy drinks, keep doing it. keep not doing it. But man, the flavor on this thing is freaking crazy, dude. And from what I understand, when I tell a lot of my friends to go try it, they're hard to find. So if you do see one, try it out. Let me know what you think. It's my favorite. Discontinue like no fear. Yeah. D-backs reach a round stack will probably be under own. Yeah. Ghost is fire. Yeah, Ghost. I used to be the main guy, but I moved on. Speaking of moving on, let's move on. Tigers and the Dodgers. Reese Olson. Hey kid, go duel Roki Sasaki. GG man. Go next. Tigers have an implied run total of 3.4. Some tells me that might drop today. Dodgers 4.8. Dodgers are minus 200. Glaber got into one off of Yamamoto. Yamamoto still was able to rack up some strikeouts. Roki Sasaki is a cyborg sent here from the planet baseball to strike out hitters, and he faces one of the most strikeout prone lineups in the league, particularly against right-handed hitting or right-handed pitching. Even when you look at how many lefties are in this projected lineup, Sasaki has just been 100% that dude. Overseas, he was a guy I was really, really, really hoping the Yankees would be able to pull off, but they didn't do it. Extremely high velo guy, just nasty. He pitched last week versus the Cubs, 56 pitches in that start. Would imagine we could safely do a plus 15, maybe stretch to a plus 20. So if we give him 75 pitches, I don't know that we're getting a deep game out of that, but you are kind of getting a discounted price for what his upside can be. At 8,500, you get to 20 plus. I think that's very, very, very realistic expectation for a high strikeout guy against this lineup. And even on 70 pitches, I'm willing to get there. So I don't have to dig too much into Reese Olson to know that the Dodgers and their 5 implied run totals by the time I wake up is going to be a lineup we're going to want to get to. We're going to put some Sasaki as well. And I don't think I'm pitching any Reese Olson. Although I'll give Olson some credit. Last year, 3.64 expected ERA, almost a 13% swinging strike rate, only a 5.5% barrel rate. Like those 3 metrics alone, put that with a 118 whip. Real life wise, fine. But I'm just probably not here to pitch against the Dodgers at home when I really can't hold my breath for a win or anything else to kind of boost you up here. So not interested in Reese Olson here. But I will say I don't think he's like a gas can. So if he stifles the Dodgers for the first couple innings like we have been seeing, maybe don't fret. And then when they get into that bullpen, all bets are off. But yeah, give me Dodgers, Roki Sasaki, and that's how we play that game. Shout out Dollar Tree. I went by a Family Dollar the other day. Cashier was on her phone the entire time. There was like a line of 5 people. I needed a phone car charger. Mine died. I was like, they probably have them here. Lady we were all up in her conversation, dude. Like, she was just talking the whole time. I was like, where'd they do that at, bro? I don't go shopping that much. Is that a normal thing? But she was doing her job, not hurt nobody, so I just went on about my business. But shout out Dollar Tree, shout out Family Dollar, shout out to Habib's. Got 1 game left on the docket. Take a pause for the cause, let you guys know. If you like the pretty colors of the spreadsheet we've been putting on screen all day, this is a premium perk of a subscription at MLBgrind.com. You want to support these breakdowns every night. Even if you just you don't need the picks. You just want to support the breakdowns, and you know that YouTube doesn't have ad revenue on the channel right now until we get to 3,000 watch hours. And you're like, all right, here's a week pass. Do what you will. Go to MLBGrind.com. Click premium membership. Boom, get in there. And then once you do, click members portal. And there'll be 2 links. One is to the spreadsheet. One is to the Discord. And we're 3 days in. And like I said, I think we're at like 10 of y'all. 9, 11, maybe like 12, 13. So you guys have been joining in there. And I appreciate all the love and you guys remembering who I am and having some fun with us. So get yourself access to the spreadsheet. I've been hand carving pitcher fantasy projections. And like I said, within the next week, we're going to be building out to more and more stuff. The bullpen usage chart. It is my intention, once I get past some workarounds for a couple of issues in the spreadsheet, such as my data provider throwing weird symbols on a lot of names, 2 max munchies in the same league, and some guys just not having sample size. The end game intention is to offer streamlined hitter fantasy projections along with the pitcher fantasy projections. That way you guys can use that as a point of reference. Projections are borderline meaningless, like isolated for DFS, but if you are someone that runs optimizers or sims, you need to put something in there. So looking for that to get done within a week or two. And then I've been carving out some player pools the last couple days by request. I don't mind keeping to do that if you guys want it. We also have the bomb detector. This is a proprietary formula that you guys have heard me reference for years, that considers batted ball data for both the hitter and the starting pitcher and the park, such as fly ball, pull rates, hard contacts, barrels, even a little strikeout tax is baked into the projection to kind of give us an idea on who makes a lot of sense for some power today. Quick peek at the bomb detector today. Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Marcell Ozuna, Michael Toglia, the aforementioned Rocky, Corey Seager, Yordan Alvarez, all have 4+ ratings in the bomb detector. And then we're looking at fun names like Jock Peterson, Jamer Candelario, Ezekiel Tovar and his road splits from last year. So some fun names over there to kind of cherry pick and get some goodness out of. We did do a beta test on projections on opening day, and I really found value in not so much the top-down projections where it was pretty linear with everyone else, right? Mike Trout, Yordan, all those guys are Ohtani. They're always going to project as the highest scoring, but it did a great job of finding some value plays, namely guys like Kevin Pillar, Kyle Higashioka, guys that you really wouldn't play unless you pull their name out of a hat. That's where I think the spreadsheet was really fun for projections, just kind of finding those guys. So once we get the a couple of the bugs ironed out, I hope that's going to be a daily offering and just added value to the subscription at MLBGrind.com. What up, Derek? Hope you're doing all right. Overnight Whataburger in Magnolia, Texas. Yo, let me get that patty melt. Let me get that fries. Let me get that spicy ketchup. Orange Fanta, easy ice. What's up? Nah, usually I don't get a drink. I just get 2 patty melts, not even the fries, but yeah. Great use of the word aforementioned. I appreciate that. Real, recognize real. No guarantee home runs, gun. Phone card chargers are the worst because the cheap ones don't last. Yeah, that's how they get you. I swear I'm buying a car charger once every like 2 months, dude. But I'm also like, I'm bad. Like I bring it out of the car, I bring it in here, just whatever. Mariners hosting Athletics. Your main event tomorrow is Valdo Vito taking on Bryce Miller. Athletics have a 3.5 run total. That's cool. Mariners have a 4.2 run total. Osvaldo, 5 spring games for him, 14.2 innings pitched, 14 strikeouts, 5 homers, but 4 of them came in one game. 72 pitches on March 12th. Meanwhile, Bryce Miller, 12.2 innings pitched, 14 strikeouts, 205 average allowed, and 0.95 whip in his spring campaign. 76 pitches on March 23rd. Last season, almost a 10% barrel rate. Not what you want. 11% swing and strike rate. That is what you want. A sub-1 whip, a 24% K rate. He is facing a strikeout or not strikeout lineup in this Athletics team that is presenting a lot more ISO and a lot more OPS than you might think when you just talk about the Athletics. Also, I will say Max Muncy here is not Max Muncy though. This is the Dodgers stats being pulled. So let me just put anything Max Muncy X. That way we don't kind of mislead what we're working with here. But yeah, Miller certainly could tap into his righty splits a little bit more if the Athletics only give us 3 or less lefties, Butler, JJ Bleday, and Soderstrom. And it might be a fun click here. 308 xFIP to righties last year, 26.5% K rate. And he's playing in a park that is going to suppress power against a team that not really known for power, even though they might be a little sneaky with it. The lefties here. Let's see. Last year against lefties, we saw actually last 2 years for Miller against lefties. We've seen some leaks when it comes to homers to southpaws. So keying on those lefties, Lawrence Butler, JJ Bleday, and Soderstrom. 200 ISO, 184 ISO, 227 ISO. They all have a chip in a chair. So I might get to both sides. Oh, man. I really hate that the Athletics are not as bad as people think they are. But that 3.5 run total is pretty doggone low. But I think I get to some Bryce Miller here. So a lot of this is going to be contingent on the confirmed lineup for the Athletics. But if they come out righty heavy, I mean, you could sell me on that sub-1 whip and the 26% K rate in a pitcher's park against a team that he should beat with a low implied total. So the Mariners, man, there's going to be a time, there's going to be a day where this Mariners team goes bonkers. Is it today? Beto last year, 63 innings. He didn't give up homers, but unless I just have this he has some unique results. Let me look at his splits last year. Batted ball data. His ground ball rate is really not that high for the... I guess it's really not that high for someone that doesn't give up homers, huh? What's going on here? I guess the exit velo is pretty low, 23.5% hard contact rate to righties, less than 29 to lefties. The pull rate's kind of high for righties and lefties. He's just not giving up hard contact. With just a 4% barrel rate. So hard to square up. Is he playable? 7,100 on DK, 72 on Fanduel. 1-4 K rate, 109 whip. His expected ERA was better than his ERA at 2.72. 4.2 run total for the Mariners. I think I'd do it, dude. Do it, dude. Go to DraftKings already has games up for Monday. Something big going on Monday. I'm gonna his fantasy point log for DraftKings just to kind of see if I'm tripping. I think I might get to some shares of him. I think I might get to more shares of him than I do Mariner stacks, but I could justify both of these teams, but understand that it's like really, really low exposure in the back end. I think I'm leaning the pitchers here. And I feel crazy for this Osvaldo. I want to make sure I'm not missing something, but let's go game logs for Osvaldo. 2, 5, 6, 4 Ks, 5 Ks. Strikeouts are kind of here and there. Where's our advanced game log? There it is. So even in those games where he didn't have a ton of strikeouts, was he still getting... Where did they put... Where they put swing and strike rate on the... I think this is going to be a pet project throughout the day, is to figure out yes or no for me on Osvaldo. But we did all that talking about not sweating the small stuff. I think there's enough to go off of. Mariners strike out a ton against righties. 109 whip, 1-4 strikeout rate, low barrel rate in a pitcher's park as is. I just think we just don't overthink it, right? We click Beto's name and just go with it. He does walk lefties at an elevated clip, I guess. That could be a problem. Raleigh, Polanco, Rowdy Tellez, J.B. Crawford. Got a 12.7% walk rate on Raleigh, 10%. Oh, no, that's for Randy. 12% for Polanco. So 3 of these lefties actually have double-digit walk rates. Maybe that's a issue of concern. But I still think I'm getting there on Beto. So that's our night slate. So to recap night slate, we jotted down Red Sox, Ranger stacks. Meditate on Bueller based on what we saw in spring. Mets and Astros, a little bit of Eric Getty. A lot of Spencers. Copious amounts of Spencer on this slate. Schwellenbach, Imanaga, D-back stack. Dude, this is going to be a weird day for pitching. Or a day for pitching where we're happy to get, like, average return. But I guess that's what you should get on day 2. I guess day 3 for most, for half the teams. Day 2 for others. Yeah, well. Right into. All right. Chat, we got anything? Closing statements, questions, comments, concerns. How long have we been blabbering? I feel like we've been going forever. If you guys haven't already, hit that thumbs up if you're watching. You made it through. You're insane. You're a grinder. You're an MLB grinder. I appreciate you. You ever go to the New Mexico side? Did you get too scared? My Greyhound from the Woodlands, Texas to Bakersfield, California. Dude, Greyhound for traveling. I've done that a few times. I haven't been on a plane. When I was a kid, I was taking buses. Don't understand how he doesn't know who Dean is. Dean. We talked about 2 Deans today. One was Creamer and one was our buddy from RG. Is it one of those 2? Otherwise, is it D's nuts? I don't know. Pitching is bleak. Yeah, it's a pretty average. Like there's pitchers I think that are certainly very viable and playable, but I think we're so trained to be hyper focused on high strikeout guys in good spots. I just don't think we have a ton of that, but we do have some average plus pitching that we just kind of have to accept. 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, maybe to get a win, something like that. Yeah. Thinking play hitters I like and see what pitchers fit. Ooh. Greyhound bus stop or an adventure? Yeah. RG is the best broadcaster. No, I like Dean. I don't know if you were earlier. I was putting Dean over, dude. He's hilarious. He knows what he's talking about. He doesn't take himself too serious, man. We need more of that. Although I think the landscape of DFS content, at least the DFS bubble that expanded to betting content, there's not many guys that I don't respect and have a lot of love for. But man, when it was the Wild West, and there's Wild West right now of oh my god, you guys ever get lost in sports betting YouTube? You got guys with gimmicks. Uncle Dan here with your whale lock of the day. If this pick doesn't hit, I'll fucking retire. And then it'll give you some like minus 140 money line play or something stupid. Get bored sometime. Go look at gambling Twitter or gambling YouTube. It is crazy. You'll really appreciate all the goats that have been doing DFS content for 5 to 10 years. I like this guy subbed. Appreciate that. I think he was here when we were talking about Dean. No, Dean's the homie, dude. Cool dude. He's one guy I've never done a show with. Maybe one of these days. Little bucket list. All right, guys, I need to get some sleep, huh? We gotta get up early and do some grinding. So, I'll probably shoot for a few hours before early slate lock to tidy up the MLB grind spreadsheet. If you guys are subbed, look out for that. And then I guess we're doing double duty, a double header tomorrow as far as content behind the paywall. So this is the last piece of content to discuss this slate on here. But if you guys want to reach out to me, Twitter or Discord is the wave. And then tomorrow night, I think Sunday's that big day slate. So we'll probably be back tomorrow night doing another breakdown. And we'll go from there. And we'll see if Monday's like a travel day. Blender had a hilarious show about TikTok gambling. I like Blender too. Yeah, that's my homie. Yo, me and him, we're wrestling buddies. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. I really do. Hit that thumbs up on your way out. If you're watching, leave a comment. I don't care what the comment is, dude. You can just leave a letter. I need engagement. As much engagement with this video as possible. Thumbs up, comments, shares, unsubscribe, resubscribe. Let's get back in the algorithm and let's farm these 3,000 hours of watch time so we can get some of that sweet ad revenue, man. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Good luck. God bless. Go win some money.